For long, it was thought that we might get the first members of our microbiome still within the placenta. But now, actually, we know that in healthy pregnancies, we are getting the first members of the microbiome during delivery and soon thereafter. So we get the first members of our microbiome from our mothers. That's the most important contributor earlier on. But then also other members of our families, other individuals that are close to us are complementing this first inoculation. So the first mode of transmission that was studied was maternal transmission, but then we started to look at other potential contributors to our microbiome. And we do see that the microbiome is spread through social interaction. So if we are close to someone, we are going to exchange microorganisms with them. So social interaction is an important modulator of our microbiome. We do exchange microorganisms with our other household members, our colleagues, our friends, and so on. So it's important to take into account who we are surrounded with, as their microbiomes are also going to shape the composition of ours. That's important, as I said early on, as that's when our microbiome starts getting colonized, but then also during lifehood. And actually, we see that in the elderly, they still share more microorganisms with their mothers or individuals that are close to them than with others. So that's something that is important across our lives. So the One Health approach is this view of taking into account that we should not only look at human health, but also animal and environmental health. This has many implications, not only for our health, but also for the health of the whole planet. And indeed, when we are talking about transmission of the microbiome, so far we see that other humans are the most important contributors. And this makes sense as they have niches where our gut microorganisms are best adapted. But more recently, we started looking also at transmission from other animals, like our pets. And we do see some transmission from them as well. So there are some bacteria that have been adapted to colonize different organisms, and we can also acquire from them. Then environmental transmission is also important. One source could be acquisition of the microbiome from foods. And we do see that there are some microorganisms that we can acquire from diet, such as from fermented foods. But it's very important that when we think about what are the factors modulating the position of the microbiome and what are the sources of acquisition of our microbiome, we do not only take into account humans, but also our social space, including our animals and the environment. I would say on the strengths that it's nice to see that the field is maturing. So it's not only just seeing some observations, but now we can see whether this holds on independent sets. So we can do cross population comparisons, and we can see whether, just one single observation, or that if it holds across cohorts. So that's also something that is key for us. And we are starting to go to the mechanisms. So it's not just saying this is the list of bacteria that are associated with whatever without further interpretation, but trying to understand why we do see those alterations, which is important when we want to think about how we can modulate the microbiome in order to improve our health. Then on the limitations, I would say that sadly we are still quite far from this. So we do see that we have a lot of super interesting findings, but the microbiome is not yet making all of its way into clinical application. So that's something that I think we still need some years for it, but I am hopeful that we are going to get there in not a very long time. Not an easy question, but I would think that we are going to go to having larger studies. So making sure that microbiome studies are well-powered, that we have enough participants in our studies to make sure that we have strong associations. And then from there, going to more targeted questions and approaches to answer specific questions. And this way we can try to go into the mechanisms and have more detailed and better explanation for different processes.